Hope, it is great to have you on the program. I wonder if we could start broadly. Where are we right now in terms of consolidation in the gaming space? Could we see even more M&A, perhaps involving names like Roblox or Unity that have been part of this sell-off, perhaps look more attractive? Or is the regulatory environment too difficult for potential acquirers?
Yeah, those are all great questions and hard to speculate on. It was really exciting to see this acquisition by Microsoft. I think just it makes so much sense in this industry. When we think about the whole gaming industry, there is so much forward-looking thinking in terms of tech that's being adopted. I love this metaverse and being able to join into a game and building a community. I think there's a lot of opportunity for corporations to really utilize that technology. So definitely could see more acquisitions in this space as it's becoming more and more valuable and more, throughout the whole community. But in general, you are right to point out the regulatory environment is difficult, and we'll have to see how that goes with this acquisition.
Right. So, Hope, given those two kind of opposing forces, the scramble for the metaverse, but the regulatory scrutiny as well, what do you think is the sweet spot? Where could we see acquisitions? What sort of ballpark are we talking about in terms of valuations?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting to look at the valuation of this one, right? It was about 8x of revenue. I think that is a really nice valuation, but not too lofty. I think it makes tremendous sense for Microsoft as it looks to, really utilize those properties within the Activision environment. Activision certainly has a lot of properties that can be well monetized. When you think about areas that could continue to evolve in gaming, I think of the media platforms. Where are they going to evolve and how are they going to include their watchers and users within their platforms and continue to grow? Could be interesting to include some gaming there.
Hey, Hope, so much of the conversation surrounds chip engineering and reducing latency and high-speed graphics. But you ride the subway, I ride it every day, and there's inevitably someone playing Candy Crush. I just wonder if you think consumer tastes are simpler than the hype around the technology.
I think gaming is a big category, and I think it can serve all of those different constituents. There is definitely a place for the casual games, such as Candy Crush, to take those moments of time that you're underutilizing because you're sitting on a subway. And then there's those moments where you have the immersive experience and really want that high fidelity experience. You certainly don't want to be involved in a combat type gaming situation and have that latency be a problem. And so I do think the technology in gaming is always forward thinking. It's always the best in class, pushing the envelope. But there are, as you point out, lots of different sectors in gaming, whether we're talking about joining in the metaverse and building things together or playing casual games on the subway on your own. Two very different experiences.
But Hope, it seems to me that those aren't, strategically perhaps the most important pieces for Microsoft. I mean, Activision Blizzard throws off a ton of cash. And then you've got things like Game Pass and, cloud gaming that are just starting to take off, and having those sort of tentpole assets within Microsoft's control could help them. So I get that too, but then isn't that part of the issue with regulators where they're going to say, perhaps, hey, Microsoft, you can't withhold these titles from Sony from others at the same time?
Right. I mean, that will be an interesting evolution as to what Microsoft does with the Activision properties. Clearly, they have stated and they've reached out to Sony to ensure that the games can be available on all platforms, and we'll just have to see how that evolves. It makes tremendous sense to have the games accessible to many, many users. I mean, one of the assets that I think has been underplayed that Microsoft acquired with the Activision asset is the amount of users. So we say MAUs, monthly active users. Activision has 400 MAUs. A lot of those coming from that King property. I think 250 million of them come from the King games. This is a tremendous asset that they're gaining, and they want those MAUs to be engaged and those players to utilize the games and access them in any way they can. So, from a business perspective, I think it makes tremendous sense. They continue to allow those games to be accessible through all different platforms and distribution mechanisms, and we'll just have to see how they, continue to evolve with that strategy.